Yo, what up? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. Before we get started, got a couple updates for you. I have not a copyright strike, but a information strike on Blacklight Revelations 1. So the strike, if I'm not able to win the appeal, will come off of the account on March 16th. So I will be inactive on Blacklight Revelations 1 until March 16th of 2021. Until then, I will be putting videos on Blacklight Revelations 2, as well as doing live streams on Blacklight Revelations 2 and backing up the live streams on Blacklight Revelations 3. So make sure that you follow those channels respectively. All right. So I don't know if you guys saw my video yesterday. I did a video where I was talking about Joe Biden and his lies and how he did exactly like I said that he would. He was not going to do anything for black people. But what I was kind of surprised about was the just blatant disrespect that he had. So before we get into this video, go to the About page and hit up all the social media on the Blacklight Network, and also make sure that you please share this video respectively to Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, everywhere, and smash the likes. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the content. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's get into this, shall we? All right, so this is a couple of articles. All right, so the first one that we're going to go through is an article in Forbes. All right, and this article says, audio reveals heated exchange between Biden and black leaders over cabinet and police reform. President-elect Joe Biden had a contentious discussion about executive power, police reform, and his cabinet appointments in a call with which civil rights leaders on Tuesday, according to leaked audio excerpts of the call published by The Intercept, and we will be playing those later. The civil rights leader on the call, including Reverend Al Sharpton and the NAACP's Sherilyn Ifill, pressed Biden to use executive orders. Now, this is interesting because I'm not sure if people know what executive orders are. To use executive orders to institute sweeping reforms to create commissions and launch investigations into further the cause of civil rights, which again, we've already talked about civil rights. Civil rights is a diversionary tactic. It's a dead horse. We already have civil rights. We need to be looking for economic justice, not civil rights. This is a dog whistle that tells you nothing will be done. But this is just a complete debacle, this situation. So here it says, but Biden said that he would not test the legal bounds of executive action and use it in lieu of legislation. So this is basically saying that he's not going to push with very much momentum towards anything. Now, I'm going to do a whole podcast on this entire topic, which is going to be a lot longer than this. This is just a reading of the article and reporting a little bit of news. So I will come back with more detail, and that will be broadcast again on Blacklight Revelations 2. So make sure that you go over there and subscribe. This channel here is Blacklight Revelations news, reviews, and reactions. All right. So here he says, I am not going to violate the Constitution, and arguing unfettered use of executive orders can set a dangerous precedent for future administrations. I just want to show you this. Now, do you see this? These are executive orders, all right? Executive orders 902 through 62. So Donald Trump issued 61 executive orders in 2020, 45 in 2019, 37 in 2018, and 55 in 2017. Now look at how many Obama issued, and that's because he had 8 years. 38 in 2009, 36 in 2010, 34 in 2011, 39 in 2012, 20 in 2013, 31 in 2014, 29 in 2015, 42 in 2016, and 7 in 2017. Now look at this. Look at George Bush. George Bush had 8 years too. He did significantly more executive orders. I think he might have done the most, 54, 31, 41, 45, 26, 27, 32, 30, and 5. And look at Clinton. Clinton kind of did a lot too. He did only 1 in 1994, and then it shot up to 40, 49, 38, 38, 35, 41, 12. So none of these people said any of this stuff that Joe Biden is saying. And look at all the executive orders that they made to get the things that they wanted to get accomplished. So again, Joe Biden is full of shit, and he's selling shit to black people, and black people are buying shit at 87% of the vote. So if you want to ever compare toilets and purchase shit, all you have to do is give 87% of your votes, and now you're in the market for shit. Okay. So here it says the President of the United States manages the operations of the executive branch of government through executive orders. After the president signs an executive order, the White House sends it to the Office of the Federal Register. The OFR numbers to each order consecutively as part of a series and publish it in the Daily Federal Registry shortly after receipt. For a table of executive orders that are specific to a federal agency rulemaking, see this part right here. All right. So here it says you can go to this page right here, which is the Federal Register, and download all of the executive orders that were issued since 1994. All right. And you see nobody is in jail. So what is Joe Biden talking about? Biden said he would not test the legal bounds of executive action and use it in lieu of legislation, stating, "I'm not going to violate the Constitution." We are going to get into this because how would he violate the Constitution if these other presidents had done this? See, look at all these guys that did this. Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton. See, it's more Joe Biden snake oil. Man. Now, here he says Biden instead played up his legislative bona fides, fiercely asserting, "I don't carry around a stamp on my head saying progressive, and I'm AOC." So here he goes into going in on AOC. And if you remember, please refer to the video that I did a couple days ago from Axios, where I spoke about the mini civil war that's going on in the Democratic Party right now. Here it says, "But I have more of a record getting things done in the United States Congress than anybody you know." Biden also advocated turning down the rhetoric on police reform ahead of the Senate runoffs in Georgia. Now you see, so now Joe Biden is just simply trying to tell people what to do. And if you remember, toning down the rhetoric on the whole police thing, that was an Obama thing. He wanted those he wanted that rhetoric to be turned way down, and him and the progressives ended up getting into it about that. Okay. So here this says this will determine the control of the Senate and greatly impact his ability to confirm nominees, arguing the GOP beat the living hell out of us during the election with the defund the police movement. The NAACP CEO Derek Johnson cautioned Biden against picking Tom Vilsack to reprise his role as Secretary of Agriculture, a nomination announced on Thursday, pointing to Vilsack's widely criticized firing of Georgia Director of Rural Development Shirley Sherrod in 2010 over out-of-context remarks as an example of how his appointment could hurt Democrats with black voters in Georgia. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. So here again, the same way Joe Biden was commanding Cardi B, the same way Joe Biden attempted to command Charlemagne, he's trying to command these black leaders at this civil rights meeting. And it says Biden said complaints about his cabinet, claiming he had done more than anybody else has done so far, which again, when we talk about nominal and real, nobody's ever done anything. So if nothing has been done and you do one thing, you've just changed it from 1 to 0. And that looks like a whole hell of a lot when you put it on a number line. Okay. So here it says to bring diversity into his incoming administration. Now, nobody cares about this diversity. See, these people are here to advocate for black people. Do you see how they're doing this? This is why diversity and people of color need to be stopped. We need to terminate those terms immediately. Okay. I've done more for anybody else so far to bring diversity to his incoming administration. The diversity he's trying to bring does absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? What he did was he brought in a bunch of LGBTQ people, and he has made positions for Latinos. Okay. But he has not done anything for black people. Now, diversity does not help black people when black people aren't included in the picks, Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? See, this is why Tangibles 2020 was so important, because people should have waited out their vote until something was able to be done tangible. Okay, this is ridiculous. So here it says Forbes has reached out to the Biden transition team for comment. We don't care about throwing fists in the air and symbols. We want the substance. Joe Biden, I know, is substance. The Kamala Harris, I know, is substance. Sharpton and NBC host said on the call. And again, Sharpton is an idiot. He is not the person really that people should be asking about this, because he's in deep with these people. We need it now more than ever, and I would hope on the first day you start doing things with your executive orders to restore some dignity to law enforcement in our community and to voting. We don't need anything done with law enforcement, and we don't need anything done for voting. We do not need those things. These people need to stop advocating for things that we don't need and start advocating for things that we do need, which are things that Joe Biden promised in his plan, which are things to deal with the racial wealth gap. You know what I'm saying? Here, Joe Biden says he would attempt to deal with the racial wealth gap. The police does nothing for the racial wealth gap. Okay. The police does nothing for the racial wealth gap. Okay. This kind of nonsense right here, this kind of symbolism nonsense right here. Picking a Secretary of Defense that doesn't do anything for the racial wealth gap. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get into that later. All right. Biden's cabinet nominees, if confirmed, represent a number of firsts for the federal government. Former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen would be the first woman. See? First woman. So it doesn't say African-American woman, so she must be a white woman to serve for Treasury Secretary, which, again, white people are not a minority, and women are not a racial minority. Okay, so this is absolutely nothing. This is fluff to quantitatively ease what's being done for black people. Here it says retired General Lloyd Austin would be the first African-American to lead the Pentagon. What does the Pentagon do to assist with the racial wealth gap? If we talk about what the military has done for African-Americans, it's locked us out of the GI program for years. That's the only thing that the military has done as far as financially dealing with African-Americans. Now they have a Latino person here, Alejandro Mayorkas. This does nothing for blacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, they whitewash blacks out of diversity. You see what I'm saying? Alejandro Mayorkas would be the first Hispanic American to be Secretary of Homeland Security, and Marcia Fudge, and I believe she might be black, would be the first black woman to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which this doesn't do anything. Well, who cares about the Department of Housing and Urban Development? What they do is they keep people in the hood. They keep people in the projects. They don't do anything to put money in people's pockets and get people out of there and establish businesses and start to sustain sustenance and economic centers in their neighborhoods. They don't do anything except for build projects. You know what I'm saying? Near Tandon would also be the first woman of color to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Avril Haines would be the first female director. So see, they're putting all these white women in there and saying that it's minorities. They're putting all these white LGBT people in there and saying that it's minorities. They're putting all these Latino people in here and saying that it's minorities. While doing that, you know, they're not really representing the support that Biden got from blacks. See, it wasn't about diversity here. You know what I'm saying? Here, they specifically asked black people to vote for them, and they especially asked black women to vote for them. You know what I'm saying? But now, once he gets into his position, it's look at all this diversity I've done with only 2 black people in this whole list. You know what I'm saying? So here it says Neera Tanden would be the first woman of color. Again, we're not concerned about women of color. We are concerned here about black people. Black people. You see, there's no women of color demographic on the ballots here. Okay, see, there's male and female, white, black, Latino, Asian, and other. These are the races. We're talking about racial minorities. When it comes to discrimination in the United States, it affected people economically when it was race based. So to repair needs to be race based. So this diversity nonsense is bullshit because it's not specific to one race. And again, this isn't me attempting to take away from anything that any other community has earned. Anything that other communities have earned, they are more than entitled to. But however, we're also entitled to things too. And to completely wash us out of this nonsense by talking about diversity all the time is complete and utter bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So Here it says what to watch for. All right. Whether Biden is able to get some more of his controversial nominees like Tandon, who has vocally criticized Republican lawmakers, and Austin, who needs a waiver as a recently retired member of the military, will hinge in large part on whether Democrats prevail in Georgia and attain a slim Senate majority. But even in that instance, Biden will have little room for error at just a 50-50 split with Harris as the tiebreaker, meaning he will have to keep the Democratic caucus together on any vote in which he cannot win over Republicans. And that's not going to happen because the progressives ain't feeling it. The progressives are not on this Joe Biden bullshit. AOC and them already spoke. They're not on it. The fact that Harris' status as a vice president-elect is the only thing giving Democrats a chance at a Senate majority has proved a rhetorical minefield for Republicans, who have largely stood by Trump and refused to recognize Biden as president-elect. On Thursday, Trump campaign manager Bill Stipin said in a statement that control of the U.S. Senate is at stake, and the runoffs a tacit acknowledgement of Biden's victory. All right, so that's this right here. This is what we got coming out of Forbes. All right. So now we're going to move over here to the Intercept. All right. And we're going to check out some of this stuff that they say in the Intercept. All right. So here it says this is inside Biden's meeting with civil rights leaders. In a recording obtained by the Intercept, Biden was unenthusiastic about executive action and warned against police reform before Georgia's Senate runoffs. One of the things that Joe Biden said was that he supported defunding the police reform, all of that nonsense, that non-specific shit. You know what I'm saying? So here, this says House, Senate, and around the country have been urging President-elect Joe Biden to use the maximum amount of executive authority available to him in order to grow the economy, expand civil rights, protect the climate, and otherwise implement the agenda he ran on, despite the expected obstruction from a Republican Senate. On Tuesday, a group of civil rights leaders urged him privately to take a slew of executive actions during a 2-hour virtual meeting. While Biden didn't close the door to anything specific, he was far from enthusiastic about the idea of using executive action. Recording of the virtual meeting attended by Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and Biden and civil rights leaders was obtained by The Intercept. Excerpts from it can be heard in this week's Deconstructed podcast, which you can find for free on any platform that hosts podcasts. All right, and this is it right here. So I'm going to shut this off and let's listen.
So there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to, Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates when you'd have some of the people you were supporting said, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution.
Okay. You know what? We'll deal with that.
Executive authority that my progressive friends talk about is way beyond the bounds. And as one of you said, maybe you, Reverend, now, whether it's far left or far right, there is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing.
Now, usually when you see a whole bunch of black people like this, they're all yelling at each other, screaming at each other, swearing at each other, calling each other all kinds of disgusting and demeaning names. But look at how they behave so politely for Joe Biden. If this was me in the center of this meeting, they would be screaming. They'd be yelling. They'd be acting a complete fool. No one would be taking turns talking. But look at how well behaved they are for Joe Biden. This is a very pathetic display right here. Pathetic. These people need to be stripped of duty immediately. And just listen to how Joe Biden is literally talking to them as if he needs to instruct them to be quiet. He's talking to them sternly. Now, nobody's interrupting him. You know, he's able to get out his complete thoughts. He's completely unchallenged by these cucks. And they just sit there like zombies, Look at them. Look at all of them. They're lost.
This guy is done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do away with that. And no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again.
So that was completely stupid. Okay. That was unproductive. And it was a lie. Joe Biden is a complete idiot. He just played all of these people and they just sat there and let him. So let that sink in, that these people just literally sat there and let him play them. Okay. He sat there and let these people, you know, he sat there. They sat there and let him play them after those same people gave him this support, this amount of support in votes. And not to mention the lowest, we were the lowest group voting for Trump. So it's not like, you know, there was any kind of spread there. You know, Trump got negligible votes, black people. And talked to like that and told that you're not going to do something, which Joe Biden absolutely can do. There's nothing in the Constitution stopping him from doing executive orders. People write executive orders all the time. There's no bounds or restrictions on what kind of executive orders you can or can't write. Okay. So we're going to continue here. All right. And here it says, so there's some things I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what used to do. Anita Guapta, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates when you'd have some people you were supporting saying day one, I'm going to have an executive order to do this, not within the constitutional authority. I'm not going to violate the Constitution. Now, it's interesting. The Constitution has been violated a lot of times in the United States. One of the times that the Constitution was violated was when it said all men were created equal, and the men who penned that shit had actual slaves. So since the Constitution was violated in that manner to cause all of the issues that these people are advocating for, a repair to that issue needs to be advocated outside the Constitution. But as you can see, this translates to Joe Biden knowing that and saying he's not going to do it, and he's not going to help you do it either. All right. So here it says executive authority that my progressive friends talk about is way beyond the bounds. As one of you said, maybe it was you, Reverend Al, whether it's far left or far right, there is a Constitution. It's our only hope. Our only hope and the way to deal with what it is. Where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. See, so his major concern is to undo everything that Trump put into place. Now, Trump didn't put into place anything negative to do anything to blacks. Trump put into place policies that LGBTQ people want reversed, and he put into place policies that are favorable to immigration. But Trump didn't really make any anti-black policies. Okay, so undoing every executive order that Trump did effectively does zero for black people, except for make them feel emotionally appealed, because emotionally, for whatever reason, the emotions of black people do not allow them to like or accept Donald Trump. So even if it's something that's harming them, like increasing immigration, something that's harming them, further diluting the minority population by allowing piggyback legislation off of civil rights for LGBTQ, they don't care. They don't even look at it like that. They just sit there in awe by Joe Biden. They think he just landed from heaven and he's there to save them while he's literally telling them how he's going to sink them. It's very sick. I don't know if these older people have dementia or if they actually are just old and soft and forgot what is supposed to go down. You know what I'm saying? I think it's maybe a little bit of both. So now it says if we do that, the next guy comes along and, well, then guess what? By executive order, I guess everybody can have a machine gun again. So we got to be careful. Excuse me. I think I yawn in each one of these videos. Like every single video that I do, there is a there's a situation where I let out a yawn. It's kind of funny. So now it says Biden warned the civil rights leaders that pressure on the incoming administration around police reform could hurt the party's chances in the Georgia Senate runoffs, claiming that the Republicans' ability to define that party as in favor of defunding the police is how they beat the living hell out of us across the country. Now, they beat the living hell out of you across the country because you suck. You know what I'm saying? Biden insisted that his commitment to police reform was unwavering, but argued that the branding effort had done too much damage. Biden made his comments unprompted, referencing an earlier remark made by NAACP President Derek Johnson, who had warned that appointing Tom Vilsack to be Secretary of Agriculture would anger black farmers in Georgia, as well as black voters generally in the state, for whom Shirley Sherrod was a hero. Sherrod was fired by Vilsack from her position as a Georgia Director of Rural Development for the U.S. Department of Agriculture during Vilsack's previous tenure as Agriculture Secretary during the Obama administration. So isn't that interesting? During the Obama administration, a black woman who a lot of people respected lost her job. Is anyone surprised? Her firing was quickly revealed to have been a mistake and based on an incomplete airing of a video by late conservative provocateur Andrew Breitbart. Particularly in Georgia, Johnson noted Vilsack's catapultation was still a sore spot, and nominating him would be disastrous electorally. If you consider the victory that you appreciated in Georgia, it was around 12,000 votes. And so as you consider appointments, you must consider what impact that would have on voters in the state of Georgia. And I will submit to you that former Secretary Vilsack could have a dangerous impact on voters in Georgia. Shirley Sherrod is a civil rights legend and a hero, Johnson said, and Obama, his team, fired her. Towards the end of the conversation, Biden raised Johnson's remarks to dismiss it, saying that Johnson would soon learn more about Vilsack's record. It also wouldn't be prudent to have that fight before the Georgia runoffs, he said, before adding that police reform should also be avoided. I don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you, Biden said. That's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. We're talking about giving them money to do the right things. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on the telephone when 911 calls come through. We're talking about spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not more force with less force and more understanding. So they're not going to defund the police. They're going to actually provide the police with more funding. This is exactly what I told you would happen. So we're going to listen to this clip now. Okay.
One of the things I'd be concerned about, just as was pointed out to me that you wanted me to be concerned, Derek, I think it was you said it, about, dealing with Vilsack as in terms of agriculture. Well, first of all, you can learn more about Vilsack's record, but my point is this. I don't think we should make that a big issue going into before January 5th when the election takes place down in Georgia. But I also don't think we should get too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform in that, because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable. We're talking about giving them money to do the right things. We're talking about putting more psychologists and psychiatrists on the telephones when the 911 calls through. We're talking about spending money to enable them to do their jobs better, not more with more force, with less force and more understanding. But that's, I just raise it with you to think about. How much do we push between now and January 5th? We need those 2 seats about police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you It's a major, major, major element.
Unreal. Never cease to disappoint. You know, never cease to disappoint. So here it says the slogan defund the police has been blamed for House and Senate losses by Majority Whip James Clyburn, DSC, along with other moderate House Democrats. Former President Barack Obama joined in, calling it a snappy slogan that costs votes. I just raised it with you to think about how much do we push between now and January 5th. We need those 2 seats about police reform, but I guarantee you there will be a full-blown commission. I guarantee you it's major, major element, Biden said. Watch the full conversation here. So let's see how long this is.
I want to start by.
Oh, it's an hour and 40 minutes. This is interesting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get this and I will play this on another platform. This is excellent. All right. So guess what? It's another case of I told you so. I told you so. Don't worry, Black Lives Matter. They'll still get their meeting eventually. It's not happening right now, but they will get the meeting later. Trust me on that. Promise you that. All right. So there it is. That's the news for now until I come back with another video. And that was longer than I wanted to go. That was a half an hour. All right. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please smash the likes, push us up in that algorithm, hit those likes. You know what I'm saying? Hit that bell icon for notification. We will be live streaming eventually once we get to about, I don't know, maybe once we get to about 100 subscribers on this channel, we will do a couple live streams with some news. All right. So make sure you hit the about page for the Blacklight Network. Make sure you subscribe to all of our social media. Hit us up, drop some donations. That would be awesome. And we will catch you on the next video. Peace.